going on, ladies and gentlemen? First things first, I'm gonna ask for a little bit of grace in this video. It's about 6 a.m. My son is asleep in the other room, so I'm gonna bring the energy down to hopefully be able to let him sleep. But I want to get this content out for you guys at the usual time, so I'm up bright and early, still got the bed eyes, trying to get this content to you. What do I have in today's video? We are gonna do the top 25 quarterbacks. For those in 2 quarterback Superflex leagues, everyone needs to try these. Best way to play fantasy football, in my opinion. It's a passing league. We're getting more and more stats from that side of things. And the quarterback is the most important position in real life. It should be in fantasy as well. Also gonna bring you guys the top 15 kickers in this video. Guys that I think are gonna have the most opportunities to produce for their team and for yours in week 11. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, thank you so much for joining me today. Glad to have you along for the ride. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the channel. That helps me out so very much and is greatly appreciated. Now, if you find yourself halfway through the video and you're enjoying the content, crush the like button for me as well. That helps the channel continue to move forward and grow. With the I's dotted and the T's crossed, let's hop into Week 11's quarterback rankings. At the top of my list, I'm going to start with Josh Allen. He gets Cleveland this week. He looked completely fine to me against the Vikings, besides those 2 turnovers. 3 turnovers, because he also had that fumble, which was a beautiful thing. He has 170 rushing yards in his last 2 games. So as if his floor didn't already need a boost, he is getting that as of late. At my second spot, I have Patrick Mahomes. He has posted back-to-back finishes as the week's quarterback too. So I'm going to be all in on him, even against a tough Chargers defense. The Chargers allow under 16 points per game to the position. At number 3, highest he's ever been and probably ever will be, is Justin Fields. He has been the top scoring quarterback in each of the last 2 weeks. He's ran all over any defense that was silly enough to try to bring him down. He actually became the first quarterback in the history of the game to rush for over 140 yards in 2 straight games. Now, if the Bears won a game with him doing that, that would be great. But guess what? Fantasy owners do not care one bit. Lamar Jackson is up next. He's at number 4. He returns from his bye and he walks straight into an excellent matchup with the Panthers. Now, Carolina is going to have 0 answers for Jackson in this game, so I think he has a great chance of surpassing the 24 points per game that Carolina gives up on a weekly basis to the position. Rounding out the top 5 for me is going to be Jalen Hurts. He may have picked up his first L of the year, but he did not disappoint managers. He put up another top 5 performance, which was his 6th of the season in that regard. Now, the Colts showed some fire under their new head coach last week, upsetting the Raiders, but I do not expect them to be able to bottle up that magic and bring it back home. Headlining my second tier is Joe Burrow. He's thrown at least 2 touchdown passes in 7 straight games, and I think he's going to continue that streak against the Steelers. They give up nearly 20 points a game to the position, which is 6th most in the NFL. Cool Joe threw for 338 yards and a pair of scores against this Steelers team back in week 1, so I think he's got them figured out. Justin Herbert is up next. He is at 7. He continues to struggle, and the lack of weapons that he has is certainly not helping him. However, the Chiefs breed shootouts. I expect no less in this game, and it looks like there is a good chance Mike Williams is able to return, which is a huge boost for Herbie. Kyler Murray is up next. He's my 8th ranked quarterback. He could be a really risky play this week because the news on his hammy so far has been not very helpful, and he plays on Monday night. So if you do end up waiting for him and you do not have another option, you are in a really poor position. Now, if Jimmy Garoppolo, for whatever reason, is available and you roster Kyler, he is the guy that you need to get now so that you have a backup plan in place. At number 9, I have Dak Prescott. He's thrown for 250 yards or more and 3 scores in 2 straight games, and the Vikings allow the 8th most points per game to the position. Minnesota is not going to have an answer for CeeDee Lamb, so I expect Prescott to take advantage. Rounding out my top 10, and at the top of tier 3, I have Daniel Jones. He did not have to do much against Houston last week, but I think he sees more opportunities here against Detroit. They're giving away fantasy points at an incredible clip. Jones' floor this week, I think, is a quarterback one top 12 finisher. Kirk Cousins is next. He is at 10. He had his best passing game of the year against the Bills. He threw for 357 yards against that awesome secondary. That performance, I think, can give us hope in this game as managers, because the Cowboys allow the 7th fewest points per game to passers. But do not fear, because if Kirko Chains shows up for you, you are golden. To 12, the last quarterback one I have is Jimmy Garoppolo. He has cooled off in back-to-back games, but the Cardinals are here to help him get back on track. Arizona allows top 10 numbers in both passing scores and passing yardage allowed to quarterback. Just pick a weapon, Jimmy. Anyone will do. You got plenty of options. Those playmakers are going to do the rest. Aaron Rodgers is my lucky number 13 this week. He has climbed significantly since we last had him. He has quietly rebounded in his last 4 games, finishing in the top 13 3 times in that stretch. And he also had his first top 10 finish of the season last week. Tennessee has had issues stopping the quarterback all season long. They're bottom 5 in passing scores, yardage, and points allowed to the position. So the trifecta of bad. Opportunity is knocking here. Let's see if Rodgers answers. Marcus Mariota is at the top of tier 4 for me. He's racked up 43 yards rushing or more in 4 of his last 6. The Bears' rushing defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think Mariota is able to leverage his rushing ability, has a solid outing here, and he could threaten the top 12 position. My next man up is Derek Carr. He's gonna have to overcome a lot more this week than just his nosediving team. Denver is the league's best against the quarterback position, so I think we need to temper expectations here and hope that Devontae Adams can break off a big play or two for Derek. At 16 is Russell Wilson. He may not want to wear the wristband for whatever reason, but at this point he probably should try something, anything, to get himself back on track. He has not finished inside the top 20 since back in week 6, and he has just 1 top 12 finish on the year. The Raiders defense should be bad enough to be able to fix him, at least so we hope. Davis Mills is next at 17. He's been able to put up top 20 numbers in 3 out of the last 4 games, and he threw for 300 plus and a pair of scores in 2 of those. The Commanders are excellent through the air as far as the matchup is concerned, and it is likely that Houston is going to struggle running the football here, so Mills' arm is going to be needed to move the ball. To the top of tier 5, it is Taylor Heinicke, aka Mr. Bud Lighticky. In that same game, he absolutely bombed last week against Philly. He posted the quarterback 27 overall finish, so you don't love that. If he burned you last week, I understand you wanting to steer clear of him. I totally get it. The Texans have given up just 1 passing touchdown through the air per game, and they're top 6 points per game to signal callers as well. So I am here to validate your feelings. Andy Dalton is up next. He is at 19. He has been struggling lately. He's got 2 touchdowns, 3 picks in his last 2 games. The Rams defense has stymied the position all season long, so it does not get easier for him in this one. I think a bounce back game for Dalton is unlikely. To 20 and rounding it out is Jared Goff. He's got just 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games after going for 4 touchdowns on 2 separate occasions between weeks 2 and 4. The Giants have allowed just 10 passing touchdowns all season long, so I think the risk here is not ideal, and the reward is not that great either. Meandering slowly to number 21, we have Jacoby Brissett. He gets a tough matchup here against the Bills, who are coming off of consecutive losses. I think you're playing with fire here by rolling him out. But that being said, he's probably good for at least 200 plus through the air, and he's rushed for 70 yards in his last 3 games. The floor might not be terrible. Matt Ryan is my next dude. He's at 22. He rose from the ashes last week with that change at the head coach position. He put up the overall quarterback 5 finish after being considered basically bench fodder / maybe he doesn't play again for the rest of the season at least. I think he crashes hard here though. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be bringing something fierce after losing to Washington, and they're already second in the league at shutting down quarterbacks. Into my 6th tier, the last one I have is Kenny Pickett at 23. He finally showcased a little upside last week, getting into the top 12. He was buoyed by his 51 yards on the ground. He's going to need all that and a lot more against this Cincinnati front. And I don't think that lightning strikes twice. Ryan Tannehill is my last QB2 in week 11. He returned from a 2-game absence to post his best outing since way back in week number 3. However, a matchup here with the Packers should kill any excitement that the owners for him might have. Green Bay allows under 14 points per game to the position, and there is no need to throw it because the Pack cannot stop the run, and the Titans have this guy named King Henry. The last quarterback I am covering is Matthew Stafford. He may be good to go this week, and he would jump into a difficult matchup against New Orleans. We know that Cooper Kupp has gone IR. This is basically worst case scenario for the Rams. With quarterbacks done, before we get into kickers, crush the like button for me if you would not mind. Helps me out a lot. Also, for those of you who haven't been here before, Relentless Press drops content Monday to Saturday. I'm doing at least 10, usually 12 or more videos every single week. So if you don't subscribe, you might miss out on some of the great content that we're bringing every single week. And now let's hop in to kickers. Tyler Bass claims the top spot this week. He was the number 2 scorer at the position. Last week, he hit all 6 of his kicks against Minnesota. Now, the Browns just got absolutely smoked by Miami, and this Bills team is not one that I would want to face fresh off of those back-to-back losses. I think the offense shows up in a big way. To 2, it is Justin Tucker. He's at home against Carolina, and my 3rd-ranked kicker is Graham Gano at home against Detroit. To the top of tier 2, it is Brett Maher against the Vikings. I think he sees plenty of chances against Minnesota in what could end up being a high-scoring affair. He's fallen off over the last month, but I will keep the faith in him for one more week. To round out my top 5, I have Robbie Gould against Arizona, and at the top of tier 3 is Nick Folk, who's been the number 1 kicker in back-to-back weeks, so the opportunities are clearly there. The Jets' defense is legit, but so is Ramondre Stevenson. Greg Joseph is next. He is in at 7. And at tier 4, Jake Elliott starts it off at 8 in a road matchup with Indianapolis. Down at number 9 is Harrison Butker against the Chargers. He drops a bit because of his recent struggles. He missed yet another point last week against the Jaguars. He does not have a top 15 finish to his name in the last 3 tries, so if you are considering moving on for him, you're not exactly wrong. However, this is still the Chiefs' offense. The opportunities are going to be there, so I am keeping the faith in him as well. Rounding out my top 10 is going to be Daniel Carlson traveling to Denver. We know that Broncos defense is tough, and I know that the Raiders have looked terrible, but I think they can move the ball just enough here to at least get some kicking opportunities for Carlson, and Denver can't score the ball anyway. Young Wei Koo gets the Chicago Bears this week. He is in at 11. And at the top of tier number 5, I have Michael Badgley traveling to New York to take on the Giants. I'm back on that Lions offense this week after what they showed us in week 10. Badgley has been a top 12 guy in 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and the Giants are giving up plenty of points to the kicking position thus far. Brandon McManus gets my 13th spot in that matchup with Vegas, and at the top of tier 6 is Wil Lutz against the Rams. At 15, the last kicker that I have in week 11 is Greg Zuerlein. He travels to New England. He's had 8 points or more in 4 out of his last 5 games, so if you need an excellent floor, Zuerlein is your man. To me, this game just seems like a low-scoring slugfest with a ton of kicking opportunities. And that is all I got for today's video. Really hope the content was valuable to you guys, that you got some information that you can use to make better roster decisions this week. We know that the fantasy playoffs are upon us. Every play, every game has bigger importance than it ever has. So good luck to you guys going for that dub. Drop your questions, your comments down below. Let me know how I did. If you are considering one player or another for that very vital flex position, let me run through my ideas with you. When we talk, we get better together, and that is what it is all about. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abria Mopat, and I will see you next time.